Good day to each and everyone. So we'll continue the discussion from our midterm exam. So for this evening, or for this session, we will discuss on the good life based on some of the philosopher, specifically Aristotle. Okay, so I'll be sharing my screen. Okay. So this is the presentation for this lesson. So this is from module 3 of module 2 of lesson 3, the good life. Right? So at the end of the session, the students should be able to examine what is meant by a good life, identify how humans attempt to attain what is deemed to be a good life, and recognize possibilities, recognize at avail to human being to attain the good life. So first, we discuss on Aristotle and how we all aspire for a good life. Ano say, good life, basically katong kwan, at ease, good life, literally good life. Okay, according to Aristotle, he is the first philosopher who approached the problem of reality from scientific lens, as we know now, and it's also the first thinker who delved into the complex problematization of the end goal of life, which is the happiness. So every one of us, each and every one of us, the basic goal of life, bisan paglalahit taog mga sina, mga goal, gusto nito maabot, gusto nga mahimong uh, dream na to, our first na our end goal of life is to become happy or happiness. So here are some of the uh, aspire for good life according to Aristotle, with the information about Aristotle. So si Plato, Aristotle teacher, thought that things in this world are not real. So they are only copies of the real world of forms, but Aristotle puts everything back to the ground and claiming that this world is all there and this world is the only reality we can access according to Aristotle. Si Plato o si Aristotle medyo ano sila, conflict na siya, and Plato is teacher of Aristotle. Okay? So according sa Aristotle, it is forms, composition of forms. Okay? For Plato, change is so perplexing that it can only make sense if there are two realities. So the world of forms and the world of matter. Say forms katong shapes and world of matter. Plato recognized change as a process and as a phenomenon that happens in the world. That in fact it is constant. Okay, that's according to Plato. And he also claimed that despite the reality of change, things remain and they retain their ultimate whatness. What you remain to be you despite the pimple that now sits atop of your nose. Okay, so this is more on kung unsa ka, inana jud ka. Okay? So the ultimate whatness. And then Plato was convinced that reality is full of seemingly it's full of seemingly kita full of seemingly contrasting manifestation of change and permanence. So for Plato, this can only be explained by postulating two aspects of reality, which is two words, if you wish, the world of forms, if you wish, and then the world of forms of matter. In the world of matter, things are changing and impermanent. In the world of forms, the entities are only copies of the ideal, and the models and the forms are the only real entities. Okay? So, conflicts na diba? Aristotle disagreed with his teacher's position and forwarded the idea that there is no reality over the above what the senses can perceive, and it is only by observation of the external world that can truly understand what really is all about. Right? So, change is a process that is inherent in things. Every action that emanates from a human person is a function of the purpose or telos that the person has in every action. Every human person, according to Aristotle, aspires for an end, and this end is happiness or human flourishing. So if you can remember, human flourishing is the ultimate happiness of a person. Aristotle claims that happiness is the all and end of everything that we do. So, pag makuha na mo mga goal, basically, ma-happy maga. So, it's the ultimate, the claim of happiness according to Aristotle. We may not realize it, but the end goal of everything that we do is happiness. So, when Aristotle claims that we want to be happy, he actually means of human flourishing, a kind of contentment is knowing that one is getting the best out of life. So a kind of feeling that one has maxed out his potential in the world, that he has attained the crux of his humanity. So nabuhi ta for um, something na ganahan ta, okay, mo trabaho ta para makakwarta o makagain kung sa tong gusto na to paliton, mo eskwela ta, it's because we are thinking or dreaming that someday, pagka-graduate natin, makakuha tayo trabaho and then maka-earn of money or maka-earn of ng good job for us to be happy. Okay? So basically, more on happiness ang kay Aristotle. Happiness as the goal of a good life. Okay? So in the 18th century, John Stuart Mill declared the greatest happiness principle by saying that an action is right as far as it maximizes the attainment of happiness for the greatest number of test people. Okay. So Mill said that individual happiness of each individual should be prioritized and collectively dictates the kind of action that should be endorsed. And the ethical is, of course, meant to lead us to the good and happy life. It's according to John Stuart Mill. So we have this goal of good life, ism. Okay? So the first is materialism. Okay? Somehow na yung mga tao nga once nga makakuha og material, so basically happy na sila na. Okay? So walay tao nga dili mo happy kung dili na to makuha itong gusto na to. So that's part of materialism. So each one of us natay basic parts sa materialism. Okay, the first materialist were the atomists in ancient Greece. So Democritus and Leucippus led a school whose primary belief that is the world is made up of and is controlled by the tiny invisible units in the world called atomos or seeds. So from sa science, atoms. Right? So for Democritus and his disciples, the world, including human being, is made up of matter. There is no need to posit immaterial entities as sources of purpose. Tomos simply comes together randomly to form things in the world. So as such, only material entities matter. In terms of human flourishing, which is the ultimate happiness, matter is what makes us attain happiness. We see this at work with most people who are clinging onto the material wealth as the primary source of the meaning of their existence. Trabaho ta, maka-earn og kwarta para makapalit og something that's part of materialism. Okay? So, at the same time, na mga tao nga happy. That's their ultimate happiness to get that specific material or mo na yung ginaingon nila nga atom or matter. Okay? Hedonism see the goal of life in acquiring pleasure. Unlike sa materialism, more materialist sila, and Hinduism is more on pleasure. So, has always been the priority of hedonist. For them, life is about obtaining and indulging in pleasure because life is limited. So, mo po nilang ginatuuhan na dapat i-pleasure nila yung kagalingon. It's because life is limited according to them. The mantra of this school of thought is the famous eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. Ang ilang motto. Led by Epicurus, this school of thought also does not buy any notion of afterlife just like the materialist. So, may mga tao, ginana nga kaon lang, inom, it's because ugma someday, tomorrow, mamatay naman gihapon. Okay, so mo na ilang kalipay po the hedonism. Okay? So another is stoicism. Stoicism. Okay? Another school of thought led by Epicurus, the Stoics espoused the idea that to generate happiness, one must learn to distance oneself and the apathic or not having or showing much emotion or interest. So, kining mga loner. So, na mga tao po nga mas mahappy sila once nga layo sila sa ubang tao or sila lang isa. Right? The original term, apatheia, precisely mean to be different. So, for the Stoics, happiness can only be attained by a careful practice of apathy. So, apathy means katong i-distance namin mong kagaling. We should, in this world view, adapt the fact that some things are not within our control. So, the sooner we realize this, the happier we can become. May mga tao nga, sila lang gusto nga mag-inusara. So, basically, they are not lonely kung sila lang isa. Na yung mga tao nga, bisan sila lang isa, mo na lang happiness. Okay. Another is theism. Most people find the meaning of their lives using God as a fulcrum of their existence. So the Philippines, as a predominantly Catholic country, is witness to how people base their life goals on beliefs that hinge on some form of supernatural reality called heaven. The ultimate basis of happiness for theists is communion with God. So katong mga kuan pud sa religious. Dili lang kay Catholic but more on the religious aspect na makaserve lang sila kay God mo na nilang pinaka happiness ni nga part sa ilang life. So they are what we call theism. The world where we are in is only just a temporary reality where we have to maneuver around while waiting for the ultimate return to the hands of God. Muna silang tanang oras silang kinabuhi, ginagugol nila serving God, praising God. It's because of this reality na at the end of the day, mubalik lang pong gihapunta sa hands of God. Okay, so happy sila na life. Another is humanism. Another school of thought espouses the freedom of man to carve his own destiny and to legislate his own laws, free from the shackles of God that monitors and controls. So for sa humanist, man is literally the captain of his own ship, inspired by enlightenment in 17th century. Humanists see themselves not merely steward of the creation but as individuals who are in control of themselves and the world outside them. So this is the spirit of most scientists who thought that the world is a place of space for freely unearthing the world in seeking for ways on how to improve their lives on of its inhabitants. So basically, ang ilaha diri is only human ang mag-control sa sa ilang gusto. So walay laing magbuot sa ilang kinabuhi, sila lang. So nobody controls them as long as they're happy. As a result of this motivation of humanists, scientists eventually turned technology in order to ease the difficulty of life. Scientists of today, meanwhile, are ready to confront more sophisticated attempts at altering the world for for the benefit of the humanity. Some people now are willing to tamper with time and space in the name of technology. For them, nobody control even um, kanang time. So, ilang ginatamper even ang time and space. Somehow, ang ubang mga scientists ginagawa nila kaning ka ng time, ano siya? So, kayo time capsule para mabalik sa previous or madto sa future. So, nobody controls them. Okay? As humanism, according sa ila, nag-develop of technology. For them, wala mo control sila but only humans or sa ilang sarili. Whether or not we agree with this technological advancement, these are all undertaken in the hopes of attaining the good life. So the balance, however, between the good life, ethics, and technology has to be attained. Right? So, dili pwede nga good life lang, dili pwede nga ethics lang, and dili pwede nga technology lang. So, dapat balance. Okay? Na kay good life, at the same time, you have the ethics with the use of different technologies. Okay? So, to sum it up, man is constantly in pursuit of good life. So every person has his perspective when it comes to what comprises the good life. Throughout his history, man has worked hard in pointing out what amount to a good, happy life. Some people, like the classical uh, theorists, though, thought that happiness has to do with the inside of the human person. The soul, as the seat of our humanity, has been the focus of attention of his own of this end goal. Okay, so work, kuan ka ng do whatever makes him or her happy. Isa po na. And we as kuan ka ng Christian, mga sa Philippines, more on religious country. Nagabilib ta about soul, which is the uh, the captain of humanity. So, depende na sa to kung asa ta totoo. That makes our attention na maging happy ta at the end. Okay? So, the soul has to attain a certain balance in order to have a good life, a life of flourishing. It was only until the 17th century that happened became a centerpiece in the lives of people, even becoming a full-blown ethical foundation in John Stuart Mill's utila, ut- utilitarianism. At present, we see multitudes of schools of thought that all promise their own key to finding happiness. Science and technology have been, for the most part, at the forefront of men's attempt at, at finding this happiness. The only question at the end of the day is whether science is taking the right path towards attaining what is really means to live a good life. So basically, si science, si humanity is more on um, competing the right path. Somehow si science will be um, kana- nag-evolve para mahimong hayahay ang tao, and that makes person happy, or even kuan sa the other side, the humanity, para kuan tao good life. Depende sa tao kung sa iyang ginabuhat or sa iyang buhaton, for them na goal of flourishing happiness or to attain good life. So depende na sa science and humanity. So kamo, about uh, unsay makapahappy sa inyo, unsay unsay goal ninyo sa inyong life. Okay, so basically kanang question is depend on each of everyone kung unsay makapahappy sa tuwang life. Okay, so that would be the one presentation. Okay, so matatong lesson for tonight, for this day, and um by next meeting online lang gyapon, I'll be giving activity about this lecture. Okay, so kanala sa for this day, and we'll meet each other online pod by next meeting. Okay, so kung may mga questions, pwede mo PM or comment sa inyo na makita ang video or sa group chat. Okay, so kanala sa for this stay, and we'll see each other next time. Goodbye and good night.